chode.
Yeah, I've got a little chody. But that's whatever.
Right,
do you know what I mean? You've
back
got to
to
live
this
and
one.
learn.
On video. Right. How are we, girls?
All right, thank you. How is everyone?
I'm good. What have we all been up to?
Oh, we're a bit delicate this
A
morning.
little
aren't
bit
we?
delicate, yeah.
A bit delicate.
Yeah. What did you do last night?
Wow, we went out, but we did take it too far. It was the classic,
bit
we're
too
going to get
far.
up tomorrow morning, not going to take it too far. I woke up dizzy.
It's always those nights, isn't it, when you say, oh, I'm not going to take it too far, and you end up
In a
taking
bush.
it too far.
Yeah, literally
Yeah.
ended up
To
in
be
the
fair
takeaway.
though, I had nuggets and cheesy chips after, so that must have soaked up all the alcohol, because I actually feel fine.
I think we will have to pause the episode because I do have a terrible stomach as well because of that.
What era are we all feeling in today?
Oh, it's got to be unhinged.
It's got to be unhinged.
After last night, it's got to be unhinged.
It's got to be unhinged. What are you in, Layla?
I think I'm in my Lover Girl era this week because I recently went to a spa with my boyfriend for his birthday and we had such a nice time, and yeah, I just feel very in love at the moment.
Oh.
Right, so I'm ready to go on to a dilemma.
Let's do it.
And this is what we've all been waiting for. So I've got my first one here. I'll just read it out what she sent in. So, I think I am addicted to fake tan. I hate how I look without it, and I will even cancel or postpone plans if I hadn't had enough time to put it on. When I'm pale, I don't like how my clothes, makeup, body or hair look, and I basically feel like part of my personality has been stripped away. I wish I wasn't so reliant on it, like when I was younger, but now it plays a huge role in determining my confidence. I'd really like to understand why I'm so bothered about this, and whether believing I look different is just in my head.
It absolutely is in your head.
It is. And it's one of them things where no one else would notice that they've not got fake tan on, but when they're looking at themselves in the mirror, they're like, oh God, I look so pale.
Yeah. It's defo like, you know, when people say like, oh, I've got this spot, I've got loads of spots on my face, and you think you're looking at yourself all the time in the mirror. We don't even notice. Like, it's literally like that. I can't say I'm literally bright orange today, but like, it's definitely in your head. It has to be, because I'm sure you look beautiful both ways.
Yeah, it's definitely something you become reliant on. Like, I know for me personally, I've been fake tanning since I started uni, and now when I don't have it, I also feel like extremely pale just because it's that comparison. But
and especially if you're in the habit of doing it, like before a night out or before anything, before you need to go somewhere, then you will obviously notice a big difference when you've not got it on.
It's part of the routine. It's part of the getting ready routine.
Yeah.
Part of the everything shower.
Part of the everything
The
shower.
night before.
Yeah. It's like shaving your legs now, isn't it? That's how, like,
I mean, I will say fake tan is better than like baking yourself in the sun. So
Yeah,
I wouldn't
of
worry
course
too much
it
about
is.
like the health consequences of it. But obviously, if it's impacting your mental health a bit, then maybe something you need some expert advice on, which is why we have got some for you today. So we spoke to a psychologist and basically a tanning expert who's done a lot of research on tan, called Mark Leary, and he kind of explained to us why we become so reliant on it and how it actually impacts our mental health.
People believe, and rightfully so, that other people perceive them to be more attractive if they have at least a certain amount of a tan. There's been research showing people's pictures where the researchers have changed the picture to make it look like they have more or less of a tan. And in general, people come across better and make a better impression in the Western world among white people if they have a bit of a tan. So people use it as a way to enhance their physical appearance.
Sorry, just what does he mean? Sorry, I got something in my throat. What does he mean when he's like, researchers are like editing photos? Like, what's his job? Sorry, like, what?
So basically, he has done like specific research on how like why people use tanning and like opinions on tanning. So I think in his research he got pictures of people. In one of them he like photoshopped it so they looked very tan, and in the other one it was just a natural like pale skin tone. And then he got like the opinion.
Right, sorry. I was like, what is this guy's job?
But he's from America.
If you believe, if it's important to you, that people think you're attractive. And people differ on that dimension, by the way. Some people are very concerned about being very attractive. Of course, nobody wants to look unattractive, but some people don't worry about it much. But if you're worried about being attractive and you believe that being tan leads you to be attractive, then you're going to do what you can to maintain that tan.
Yeah. I guess if like you feel like you look a lot more beautiful with it on, and you're getting more attention maybe when you go out, or like more people are messaging you on social media, then maybe you think that tan equals beauty and like acceptance, I guess.
Well, you also like, you shouldn't like, don't deep it too much. Like, I don't want it to like affect your mental health and you think that like you're awful without it, because you absolutely won't be. But like, you know, you don't beat yourself up if you like want to go out and put makeup on, and you shouldn't be like, oh, like I hate that I'm relying on like, you know, if it's what you want to do and you want to wear it, you know, you fucking wear it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We did a study at one point looking at people who overdid it. We went out to parks and we looked at people who were purposely suntanning. They were clearly sitting out there to get a tan. Now, that wasn't fake tan, that was real tan. And we administered questionnaires to them. And we had our researchers judge, is this person already as tan as they should be? I mean, is there any reason why they ought to be out here today working on their tan because they're already very tan? And they would rate the person on that. And what we found is that when we found people who were very tan, but still sitting out there, they scored very high on measures of obsessive compulsive disorder. I mean, they really have become obsessed with it, and it's compulsive behavior. It doesn't mean they need a psychologist necessarily. They're not up there in the clinical range, but there does become a certain amount of obsessiveness that I have to keep doing this to be attractive. And I'm afraid if I don't, then I'm not going to be as attractive.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
I do
so
see
interesting.
like, because I know when I'm on holiday, I will constantly be sat out in the sun thinking, I can definitely get more tan than I am now.
Yeah.
Even if I'm already like very tanned, I'll still think I can get it a bit further.
Yeah.
I remember like going back onto the fake tanning, like when I was a lot younger at school, like people would use tan that was like way too dark for their skin tone. Like they'd use really dark fake tan, ultra dark, and like it was just a normal thing, but like actually like with their skin tone, like it probably wasn't right, and it just shows that like it's probably socialised in us a bit since we were younger, and it's just something that we've grown up doing.
Like, what about your hairdresser?
There are
What is the like excelling thing she does? That is not Molly May filter.
So a lot of people now can do like nasal enhancing stuff.
Yeah, and you can do injections as well.
Yeah.
And then my hairdresser said her and her boyfriend did like the tanning injections, and they literally just bought them off the black market, and then which
like,
is so
it even
dangerous.
legal?
No,
This is
so
like,
dangerous.
instead of doing heroin, people like injecting tan. Like, what are you injecting yourself that's making you tan? What is that?
And we're going out of
where'd
our
you
way
get it?
to buy products that aren't available to us just to increase this tan.
Fucking crazy.
Can get very, very
But that's like
addictive.
Drugs. That's literally an
is.
addiction.
And it does become like an addiction, because the more you do, the more you want to do.
Obviously this is a very extreme case, but it's just like how far it can go, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
For some people.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this is silly, but like I feel luminous without a tan on. Like, and if I was wearing, I feel see-through. And like we all joke and be like, God, like, you know, classic, like if you saw like a ginger fella, you'd be like, pasty boy, right? That is how I feel. I feel like a Victorian sickly child in the club. Like, I need to be brown. Like, I need to be, you know, tanned, glowing.
I feel like I was getting to that stage, and I went cold turkey. I stopped doing it, and I feel like that was really interesting for me, because now I don't feel like I need it on. It's nice when I do, but genuinely a lot of the time I just can't be arsed. No. So like I am happy to just go to the club without any tan on, but like I do completely understand like why.
Yeah.
And I know that I do feel better when I have it on.
Yeah.
And that's literally, I wish I was like that, because
Yeah.
I'm very, very reliant on it, and as soon as I see a bit of sun, like I'll be out trying to get the natural tan, because I also cannot be bothered to scrub it off and like put it on each week. But
what's your
it's
routine
such a
with
chore,
that?
isn't it?
Like, how often are you doing it?
so it's like once a week you have to scrub it off and then put it back on, and it is such a very big chore. And I remember when I first got with my boyfriend, I literally didn't want him to see me without fake tan, and one time I would like schedule it so every time I saw him it was like nice and fresh. And then one time I just scrubbed it off, and then I saw him and I was like, please literally don't look at me, like you're gonna think I'm so ugly and like I look horrible. And he's like, you literally look exactly the same, like what you want.
And like a boy's really, these men are not gonna notice, are they? Like they might, but they're not. It's not gonna change the way that they feel about you. But for a girl, like obviously we think that it is. We think it's a huge deal.
Oh, they don't notice shit. Like they wouldn't know if you literally had a paper bag on your head.
They wouldn't.
And how often, even as females, would we look at another girl and say, oh my god, she's so pale, like she looks awful? Like I've never looked at another girl and thought that.
No.
So it's like, obviously it's a self-confidence issue that, well, I know I'm having, and other people who rely on tan may be having, that they just don't feel beautiful without it.
Also, let's think of Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
Emma Stone.
Gorgeous women.
Who else is like a pale queen of the screen?
The one from Euphoria. Yeah, Sydney Sweeney, and the other one from Euphoria.
I can't, her name's not coming to me.
Yeah,
Hunter.
There are some people with body dysmorphic disorder, which is really a clinical phenomenon where I believe I'm unattractive, but everybody else would rate me as perfectly average, if not above average, but I'm worried about my appearance and I think I'm ugly or deformed, or people think I'm ugly. A lot of people with, about 25% of people with body dysmorphic disorder, one thing they're worried about, they think I'm way too pale. I'm ugly because I'm a pale person. And so they engage in excessive tanning. Now, that's an extreme case. I mean, there's a lot of perfectly normal people that engage in extreme tanning just because they want to be attractive. But if you really think that you're ugly and you're not, and you think you'll look better if you have darker skin, then you're going to go overboard with your tanning.
Yeah, I can see how the two would
100%.
interlink. Because, a lot of the part of tanning is you think you're a lot paler than you actually are, so that can directly linked to body dysmorphia, where you're kind of like unaware of how you actually would look to another person.
Yeah.
God.
So,
and it makes me feel so silly when, you know, like when you were saying that your boyfriend was like, you look the same, and like guaranteed 99% of the population would say like, no, you look great, like you don't look any different, and like you'll be like, what? Like I feel like a new person. And that's great if like you can separate putting the tan on and knowing that it's, you do it to make yourself feel good, and also the fact that when you don't have it on, you're still worth the same amount, like you're still like great, you're still beautiful, you're still the same person you are with or without the bronze skin.
Absolutely.
And
I think that's what we need to conclude from this. Like it is just a choice, and as long as you can do it for you and do it because you think that it makes you more confident, then that's absolutely fine. And like you don't need to be ashamed of that, but please just know that I'm sure you're beautiful without it. So like you do not need to put it on, but if you want to, then that's great.
If you believe that this is enhancing the degree to which you're valued and accepted by other people because you're more attractive, if you think this is increasing your, what I would call relational value to other people, that the people are more likely to seek me out, it certainly will boost a person's self-esteem and their self-image. I have been impressed by the fact that there have been some celebrities in the last 15 or 20 years who are very pale-skinned celebrities who don't have tans. In fact, you'd look at them and you say that person is very pale, who have been stressing that it's okay not to be tan, that some people just have lighter skin and not worry about it. So I would encourage people to think about, you've got very famous people out there who are tan and say, hey, this is okay. Why is it that I am so concerned? Back in the 1800s, this would apply to the United States, would apply to England and most of Western Europe. People prized having a pale skin. Everybody wanted to be pale. Why? Because the people who had deep tans were farmers and laborers who had to work outside, who were tanned because of their job. And having pale skin showed that you were wealthy, or you had a professional job where you were in an office all day, or you got to stay home. So everybody wanted to appear pale. But then when the Industrial Revolution happened, and most of the workforce then moved into factories, the people with tans were the more wealthy people who could go on vacation. They had time to get out and go boating and go hiking and go to Florida. So tans became a signal that I'm sort of more in the elite, and I'm educated, and I have a professional job, which I always found fascinating, that you don't stop to think about, well, why do we care about tan? I mean, what's the value? this is a holdover from something from the 1920s.
Right, yeah. It's literally just ingrained in us from society. When I was in Thailand last year and I was teaching there, they literally said, like, don't take the kids outside and do, like, games in the sun because they do not want to catch a tan. And that was literally a thing. And so, like, they have fair skin as well, really. Like, and they obviously are a bit more olivey than us. But, like, yeah, and they would just say, like, don't take the kids outside. And it was for that exact reason. They thought the paler you are, the more, like, rich you are in their society. Because, like, if you're tanned, it's because you're out in the fields working all day. And I was like, what? I'm baking myself to make myself look like this bronzed goddess, when they're thinking, like, you know, God, I look like I don't know, like.
And don't you think we think it's such an elite compliment when people are like, you look so tanned. Yeah. Like, to us, we're like, oh, thank you. Like, so it's just crazy to think that other people would feel differently.
I know.
Yeah, I think it is a very big culture in the UK, and also it can be trends as well. Like, I'm sure in the 90s or 80s it wasn't popular to be tanned. Like, my mum always, like, looks at my tan, she's like, God, like, what have you put on your skin? Like, your hands look awful, like, your fingers look like cheesy orange. She's like, why have you done that?
Cheesy what's it?
Yeah. Digging for potatoes. They look like dirty under the nails.
But yeah, to just conclude, I think Mark was really good at explaining why.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
I just think we can be more aware of maybe the reasons why we're tanning, and maybe try and work on our self-confidence a bit more.
Yeah, because you're beautiful.
Love yourself with and without tan. We love you, so love yourself. I've got another dilemma for us all, and this is an interesting one because I feel like this is something that's so relatable to a lot of people. Like, if you've had a friend that's recently gone through a breakup, or you have yourself, I can guarantee that they've said this. So this dilemma says, I was with my boyfriend for 2 years, almost 3, and we've just recently split up. Over the course of the relationship, he often treated me with a huge lack of disrespect, speaking to me awfully, and we would argue more than we were friends. Our personalities clashed, and I feel like we brought out the worst in each other. I knew I needed to leave, so I did. But now, bless you. Now, when I think about the relationship, I am only remembering the good parts, the great memories we made, and the fact that we were each other's best friends. I feel like I have lost touch of the reasons that I left. How can I overcome this?
Oh,
that's so sad, isn't it?
It's relatable though.
So relatable.
Very relatable, especially when you're missing a person.
Yeah.
It's so easy to just long for all the good things back, because that's all you're going to miss, so that's all you're going to be thinking about. But what I found to help me was writing down all the reasons when going through a breakup, all the reasons why we might have not been right for each other, or things that they might have done to me, and then whenever you're feeling upset, just look at that and you'll be reminded about actually why it's a good thing, and it's good you've left it behind.
Yeah. I've heard people say, and I feel like this is a good thing that you can do, if you are feeling like that, write letters to the person, write letters about why they've pissed you off, or like the reasons why you love them, even though you're not together anymore. Write them letters on how you're feeling every day, and then as you're healing from the breakup, like, you can look back at it and think like, I was feeling so shit back then and now I feel so much better, and that kind of helps you to remember why you've left, I think. I feel like that's a good thing to do.
You have to trust that you, in that moment, weeks ago, months ago, whenever you broke up with him, you have to trust that you in that moment was like, no, this isn't right for me. And I guarantee this wasn't an irrational, like, oh, you know what, fuck it, I don't want to be with you anymore. You would have thought about this, you'd have talked to all your friends, all your family, and that you came to that conclusion. And you're going to look back because you loved him still, like, whether he's an arsehole or not, you still have that, like, intimate side that, you know, no one else might have ever had of you before. You're going to look back and be like, oh, I fucking missed that. But that doesn't mean he's right. Like, it doesn't. You know, in a couple months, you might meet someone else and think, I'm glad I didn't go back. Right, so it's like using that, channel that, and you could say for the next 6 months, you say, I still fucking love him. Doesn't mean you should go back, write those letters, channel it to your friends, to your family members. Yeah,
I think what I always remember is an ex is an ex for a reason. And you have to trust your past self for making that decision for your future self, and trust where they were in it, because it's easy once it's a bit in the past to think it might have been a mistake, but everything has happened for a reason, and things are built up to that event, so it's definitely.
And also, don't like beat yourself up. Like, it's gonna feel shit. Like, you've lost a best friend. You've lost someone that literally knows the inner workings of you, of your life. So like, it's like grieving someone. So like, be kind to yourself, because you are going through something hard. You've done the hardest part now. The only way is up.
Yeah, I am. It just all depends on the day. If I heard about this scenario, like I think I was talking about it yesterday or the day before, and I've literally been through this exact same thing. It's like painfully close to home, and I'd be like welling up. So like, you're not the only person who's going through this. Like, I promise, and it is normal. To be grieving it.
Absolutely, I'm sure everyone has been through it.
Yeah.
So I've got a little message here from a psychotherapist called Shelley Treacher, and she specialises, one of her areas of expertise is toxic relationships and like relationships ending. So here's what she had to say.
Feeling nostalgic is common after a breakup. This can happen for a couple of different reasons. We often try to forget bad or tough things to avoid emotional pain. Our minds can shut down to protect us from feeling overwhelmed. Sometimes we might convince ourselves that we like somebody just because we're too scared of being by ourselves more than with being with them. But there are a few things that you can do to recover. You can actively work to remember the bad things and think about why you broke up in the first place. Write a list. You can take care of yourself. Whenever you start thinking about the past or about your ex, focus instead on yourself and on what you need. And you can take time to recover. Healing from a breakup does take time. Trust that you will be happy again.
Yeah, so her voice was actually very soothing.
It was.
But, could send me to sleep. But yeah, I think she had some very valid advice there.
And I think she reciprocated a lot of the things we were saying about going through a breakup and taking time for yourself. You need to enter your self-love era.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and just think about you reenacting Maisie Peters' Lost the Breakup in like a couple months. Like that.
Banger.
Yeah, if you see yourself. Also, so a friend is going through a breakup recently, and we were saying to her, in those moments, it's inevitable when you break up with someone, especially if it's not because of a cheating scandal or something where you can genuinely just hate them and that can carry you through like the recovery. If you don't have that, which like normally you don't, there's always that element of like, I'm going to miss him at some point. And we were saying to her, because she's not been on her own before, and she knew that she was like, I know I shouldn't be with this guy anymore, but I'm like shitting myself still, because like if I miss him, I will just like go back to my old habits, which is going to him. And we were like, in those moments, you just have to remember, actually, in 1 week from now, I'm going to feel completely different, let alone in 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and you're going to be fine. And also like, he will too. And I think you also need to hear that, because like you're thinking probably not even about yourself, you're thinking, oh God, he's gonna be, he's doing this, he's doing that, right? He's gonna be fine. He'll be all right, and so will you. And if you see him in 6 months time, you'll be like, fucking hell, I feel so different, I feel completely different, that actually like you probably wouldn't even get on any level if you met him again as your new you.
Literally do it for your future self. I know for me, like, I always would find it easier if a breakup ends on bad terms. Like if they've done something like horrible to you, that's the reason you break up, because then it's just so easy. That's the last thought of them in your mind. And it's so easy to feel confident in your decision. But I know if you're maybe making the decision because you think you've grown apart or you're at different stages or something that you may think is a bit selfish, it can be a lot harder to accept that you're not going to be back with that person, and you might feel guilty about it.
Absolutely.
But it is really good to be selfish sometimes, I think. You've only really got you in this life. And you don't want to stick with someone just for the sake of saving their feelings if they're not really adding anything beneficial to you at the minute.
Also, you say he was a like, you don't, just remember that, like, you don't know. Like, you have to remember, like, you said in the email exactly what it was. You didn't have a good relationship. Remind yourself of that. Like, he's seen some, he's probably been through some really hard times with you, and he was really supportive. But he wasn't right. Like,
and the motto of the whole dilemma is you've done that for a reason. So see it through, and like you will be fine in the end. It's just going to take some time.
Does anyone have any funny breakup stories?
Well, I was going to say, we could actually talk about the other, like, literally a couple of weeks ago, I was having some sort of like, I was really, really distressed because I see my ex-boyfriend out all the time just because of, like, the area we live in. And that's usually, I'm quite good at detaching the fact from, like, we've broken up, I'm going to see you out, I want to be mature and just be like, hi, how are you? And obviously that's difficult. And it got to a point where I struggled to navigate, like, am I taking it too far and
Yeah.
being like really over friendly and confusing him, or am I being rude and by like being really distant? So I struggled to find that happy medium, and I'd like tapped him on the shoulder on the way out and been like, I'd gone like, okay, like, see you around, and he said, don't touch me, even though he'd spent like the whole like hour like where we were like chatting away, like catching up, and I was like, okay, like across the line there. So I instantly was so upset about it, and I ran down, found Chloe, and I was like, God, I'm so upset, like, I can't, I'm such a horrible person, I've just messed with his feelings so much, led him down this garden path. And she just kept saying, do you remember when he snapped the antenna off your car?
Which he did.
Yeah, he did.
That's
He
a
did
real
that.
story. He did. The car radio wasn't working for a few weeks. Couldn't get to the root of the problem. It turns out
That was missing, and I
It
was
was
there like,
missing.
no, like, I'm so bad, like, you know, I don't consider his feelings, I shouldn't have done that, I've overstepped the mark, I'm thoughtless. And she was like, but you snapped the antenna off your car, and she would say it about 3 times, and obviously in the moment I was
over
so
and over
worked
again.
up I
I
couldn't
was like,
hear her.
he snapped that antenna off of your car.
Yeah. And then afterwards we were just like, he really did do that, didn't he? And then actually I thought, you know, even if it's like not that like yours isn't that severe, like, because that is actually vandalism, guys. That
Yeah.
is vandalism.
A criminal offence,
It's-
surely.
Yeah, but his I think his parting words were, it could have been worse, could have slashed your tyres. And I thought, yeah, could have done. We didn't.
It always
That's
could have
like-
been worse.
Yeah, I suppose. But like, yeah, what I'm saying is you have to like remember that actually there's those moments,
Yeah.
and like laugh with it with your friends. Go home and rinse him with
Yeah.
your friends. That will make you feel better, I promise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My last breakup that I went through, he literally wouldn't leave me alone, which is obviously going to make things a lot harder. I was getting Moonpig cards over email. I was getting like bank transfers.
It's the emails, when the emails
I was
start,
getting
like, that's...
yeah, emails saying unblock me, like just one more phone call, bank transfers of 1p saying like, please just one message or just one chat.
He's a joke.
Birthday
What,
cards.
did he put that in, like, the...
In the reference of the
Oh.
thing, and then he would lie and say like he'd bought me presents and they were at his house and I would have to go around and get them. It turns out he hadn't got me a present, but he was just going to order like
He
something
was the
off
present.
Amazon.
He's on it,
Yeah.
frantically getting Amazon.
Yeah.
You open the door, he's wrapped in
So like
Hi, I'm present.
and a bow. I'm back.
it can
me
be
again.
difficult. It can be difficult if you break up with someone and they may be like pulling out all the spot. Wait, let me say that again. It's difficult when you break up with someone and they're pulling out all the stops to try and get you back,
Yeah.
but you have to remember why you did it and stick with it.
And
Yeah.
quite frankly, we have to remember that's manipulation.
Yeah, that's
not normal behaviour.
And the way you were telling that story then, you had like the biggest grin on your face because you're looking back and you're like, that was a joke. Like that whole situation. And in the moment, guaranteed you were like, God, have I made the wrong decision? Because
I was
he's
literally
throwing all this love and
crying,
attention.
like thinking, oh, he must be the one for me, like literally Romeo begging for me back, like
Yeah.
not giving up even after I've broken up with him like 3 times.
But where was
Right.
that energy in the relationship?
Yeah.
That's what we have to remember.
Because
where were the
Garen-
presents
yeah.
in the relationship?
Guaranteed he wasn't wrapping himself in a bow when you were together. He was acting like an idiot. So, and it's just like, you know, this will be you
Yeah.
in even a couple weeks time. You'll be thinking,
You'll be
oh my
laughing.
God, like he did this, he did that. And look, if you doesn't sound like he's, you know, like he's not coming round doing all these stupid things that we had
Yeah.
to deal with. So you've got a way lucky,
Yeah.
actually. Could always be worse, apparently.
You just need to love yourself and don't feel too guilty about it because it will be fine.
So, we've had a lovely chat today, haven't we? We've
Yeah.
really talked about some good dilemmas and I hope that we've helped you out or even just entertained you.
Yeah, really chewed the fat.
Yeah. So thank you so much for
What is
listening.
that?
Have you never heard that phrase? My mum would say like, we're just chewing the fat. I don't
Right, well
know.
that's the phrase from Charlotte.
We'll leave
so.
that.
Phrase for the day, chew the fat.
Chew the fat. Yeah.
I challenge you all to say that in one conversation this week.
Yeah, do it, and then after it's like.
Right, bye.
Thank you. Bye.